Over the past 6 months or so, we've been working to turn this space behind me from woods into a garden. It's finally time to start planting. Before I can do that, I've got a few little projects to wrap up. We started this project last fall when we had a mini excavator rented for a weekend. We had a few different projects to get done that weekend, so the goal was just to get all the trees down and into a pile, and then we deal with them later. After fighting in the mud with the tractor trying to move the pile, we finally decided it would be easier to just consolidate the pile and burn it in place. The next step was to level out the area. There were some holes from where the stumps were before and some areas that didn't drain very well. This was another fight with the mud, but with some patience, we were able to get it all leveled out with a tractor close enough to where it could be finished by hand. Then it was time to move on to the fence. In the past years, we fought with deer in the garden, and that was one of the goals with this new garden, was to build a fence that could hopefully keep the deer out so that we wouldn't have to be putting up that fight again. This fence is 8.5 feet tall to the top wire. Hopefully that's going to be tall enough, but only time will tell. Since our last video in the garden, I've been working a little bit here and there to get the odds and ends wrapped up. We had one more raised bed left to build and install. Where we had left off, we had completed the fence, but we didn't have the gates installed yet. This 16-foot wide gate was just a pre-made farm gate that we had laying around, and we weren't using it, so all I had to do was get it hung up. The process for hanging this was the same as what you saw in our last video with the gates we hung up in the stall, but since this one's 16 foot long, it's a little bit heavy to hang by hand. I found using the tractor with the forks as an extra set of hands makes it a lot easier. Since this gate is only about 4.5 feet high, we need something to fill this gap above the gate so that the deer don't just jump over the gate right into the garden. The section above 4 feet on the rest of the fence is our electric wire. I'm gonna use this poly wire that I had left over to go above the gate. We can easily just take it on and off when we're gonna go through the gate. We're not gonna use this gate as often. It's really only kind of for the spring and fall when we're bringing material in with the tractor and things like that. Then all I gotta do is grab this loop, pull it down. We can probably fit under the tractor with this, but if we need the full height, then we can just unloop the other part. I can reach this part without even going up. Just loop through, run across, and lock it down. Now for this other gate behind me. This opening is roughly 4 feet wide, and this is gonna be our main gate that we're gonna come in and out of all the time. So I built a gate that we're gonna put in right here. Before we can get it hung up, I'm gonna put a header across the top to tie the top posts together to give this post a little bit more strength, because we don't have an H brace here, we just have the individual posts. Get a screw started. I'm gonna start by setting this side of the header just flush with the top of the post. And get our header level. And we'll set a second screw on this side to hold it level. I'm gonna slide down to this side. All right, now we are plumb and level. So now I'm gonna go ahead and pull out these insulators. We'll go ahead and get this other front side of the header installed, and then we'll put these insulators back into that header. I built this gate with 2x4s going in either direction on the tops and the sides, but only one standing vertically on the bottom. The bottom doesn't really need the extra structure, so it would just be added weight. Plus, it's a place for water to collect. I then put a diagonal brace from the top corner on the hinge side to the bottom on the other side, and then I covered it with the same welded wire that we used on the fence. I fought with this gate for about 30 minutes last night trying to get it installed, but I had to call in reinforcements. Let's lift it up just a little bit. Can you hold it right there? Yep. Meanwhile, the head gardener has been hard at work today getting all these raised beds prepped with compost, planted, and mulched down with straw. When I was fighting through the mud a couple months ago, it was hard to imagine that it was going to turn out the way it did, but it's really starting to look like a garden now. She's got the raised beds all planted. We've got some compost that we're going to spread in rows and do in-ground row crops over on this side. And in the next couple weeks, we'll have this all planted. I'm definitely pleased with the way it's turned out. It's been a project, but it's definitely been well worth it. Hoping that the fence will keep the deer out, but only time will tell on that one. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you back here on our next one.